Hey, what's up guys, my name is Cherno and welcome back to episode 119 of Game Programming. Last time we took a look at the UI button and creating this basic button class, and all we really had was a way to display graphics. Today we're going to actually make the button functional, okay? So we're going to use this UI button listener interface that we've created, but we didn't really do anything with it. We're going to use that to actually listen for events, okay, in our button, and of course we're going to raise them here in the update method in the class. So what's going to happen is, if we go into this button listener for a minute here so that we can kind of sketch out our idea for buttons and what really should happen with them, there are probably a lot of events that we actually want to listen for, okay? Now, what am I talking about when I'm talking about events and all these like things that we're listening for? What does that mean? Well, it's pretty simple. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of improv here. And because I wasn't planning on doing this, but you know what, it's a good idea, and I always do these game programming things live, so let's just see where this goes. I want to draw you guys a diagram. So what happens is, we've got our game, right? This is our game. Let me just, oh, it's black. That does not look black. Anyway, this is our game window, right? So we've got this panel and we've got like a button over here. What happens is, when things occur with this button, what we want to do is certain actions, right? Now, it's not just whether or not we click on the button, right? So when something happens with the button, whether it be a click or something like that, we want to process something, yeah? We want to perform a certain action. So for example, if someone clicks on the button, we might want to display the options menu, okay? I don't know, I'm making stuff up. Maybe there'll be like a little exit button on the bottom. I don't know, right? It's up to you guys, and it's up to obviously the game and whatnot. But what we want to be able to do is handle these events in an elegant way. So what we don't want to do is have to like create a separate button class for each type of button based on its activity. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to have our UI button, right? Which is basically our universal kind of class that will handle everything, right? And all that we should be able to do is set these actions up for that. So what are the actions that we need, right? What possible actions could our button really use? Now, there are three ones that are really important, okay? That come to mind straight away, okay? One is clicking, okay? If we click on the button, we should be able to do something. That's pretty simple, right? Now, there are, I said two more, so I said three total, but there probably would be about four more that we will probably implement. There's the click, okay, which I'll talk about because that'll actually divide into two. So let's actually cover that right now. This will divide into two. We've got the mouse down, okay, and excuse my handwriting because this graphics tablet is from like, I don't know, more than 10 years ago probably, and it's just not very big or comfortable to write on. But mouse down and mouse up, right? So when we put the mouse down, that should be some kind of event. And when we actually kind of end our click by releasing the mouse, we also want to handle that event. And I'll explain why and give you some examples in a minute. So that's the click. But there's excuse me, there are two more events that aren't related to clicking that are important, okay? And that's the mouse entered, okay, and then the opposite of that. So mouse removed or something, I don't know, mouse exited, I guess. Yeah, mouse entered and mouse exited. So whether or not from the button, the mouse actually goes into the button or leaves the button. Now, why would we want these things? Why not just have click, right? Well, the reason we want these things is because first of all, buttons aren't just interactable by clicking on them. Okay, that is the main form of interaction. But usually, if you notice, even looking at this UI, when I put my mouse on it, if you look kind of in the bottom left corner, you can see that it changes color, right? It goes a bit lighter to know that that's like a clickable region. It's not just some kind of display. Then when I click on it, you can see that it's actually a different color here as well, right? So what we kind of want to do is, for example, when the mouse enters, we might want to change the color. Right, so change color, okay? When we put the mouse down, we might also want to change color. And maybe when we raise the mouse, we want to actually perform an event. And then when the mouse exits, we also want to probably change the color back to whatever it was before. Okay, so we've got this whole like system that we need to set up, which might be unique for each mouse. Now, we could be pretty like controlling, right? We could be pretty limited in the way that we design this. We could say, hey man, all you're allowed to do is this click, yeah? You can customize that. I'll take care of the rest of the colors and events, okay? So what we could do is we could say that, you know what, our button class, we can make it so that it changes color. So you might be able to set a foreground color, a hover color, and a click, like a depressed kind of color, which is when we actually put the mouse down but not lift it up, right? We could choose that stuff and we could just kind of do that, and then it'll handle all the events separately. But what I'm going to do instead is excuse me, got a cold. Is make them somewhat customizable, right? So that we can actually set them to whatever we like. So to do that, we need to basically grab these events and implement them into our interface. So what's going to happen is everyone knows the mouse, right? The mouse class, by everyone knows the mouse, I mean, it's a static class. So everyone has access to the class. So we don't need to worry about this. But you can see even mouse listener has, this is a new thing. So let's go into, this is a fresh install. So I'm using Windows 10, as you can probably tell. Java, where's that at? So let's attach the source real quick. So you can see that how they've done it, right? And then they've got the mouse event, which is kind of the conditions on which that's happened. So when a mouse is pressed, for example, mouse event will contain information such as the position of the mouse and what button's been pressed and all that stuff, right? We don't really need that, but what we do need is to basically have these conditions, right? So I am going to say, we've got to think up of names. We've got to think up some cool names here as well. So public void, I'm just going to, I'm in Java. Mouse entered, let's quickly go back here. What do we have? Mouse entered, mouse exited, release, press, clicked. Yeah. So entered, exited, pressed, released. And we might have a action as well. Now here's what the deal is. I don't actually want to do it as an interface. The reason is I want to give it some defaults. I believe Java now has a way to set defaults. If you go like default void, I don't know. Does that work? Yes. So you can do something like that if you were a 1.8. I'm kind of, excuse me. I'm kind of not going to do that just to keep compatibility. But yes, you can do stuff like this as well. But what we're going to do instead, and there are benefits to that. For example, you can extend as many interfaces as you want, but only one class. But it's all right. We'll just change this to be abstract class instead of an interface, because I do want to predefine some behavior, okay? I don't want it to all be completely not defined. So the only one that we really need, I'm going to leave is action, okay? Everything else is going to be, is already going to have an implementation that we don't need to necessarily override, okay? This will just make it easier to change things like colors, okay? So what we'll do is, so we've got that, good. Where's our button? What am I looking for? UI button. Where'd that go? Here it is. So we've got this class here. So by default, if you don't specify anything, that's going to be a bit weird as well. You probably do have to specify a button listener. I'm just thinking maybe I should divide it into two if I'm going that way. So we might have a bunch of just this and then also an action that we have to do, and then maybe a default set of, yeah, that could be a bit better. Okay, so we'll have UI button listener, which is just an abstract class. And then we'll have we'll have an interface that is going to be a UI action listener. So this isn't going to be just for buttons. Okay. Well, I don't know what we'll just call this. Maybe action. Maybe perform. So perform will actually perform the action. So we've got a UI button listener, which we don't necessarily need to do anything with. And then we've got, because that'll exist by itself, as in it'll have default functionality is what I mean. So we'll also have a UI action listener. Okay, so you should have to specify a action listener. And of course, when certain things will happen, we'll perform the action. With UI button listener though, that's going to basically be specified here. So we could do an anonymous inner type here where we created, I'm just wondering if there might be a better way, possibly if we create a default class or something. Yeah, it just might be a bit messy to have everything here. So what I'll do instead is actually just say this. This is just to clean the code up. So we could have done it inline and whatnot, but I'm just going to create a class here. So we'll have a private class UI default button listener, which of course will extend UI button listener. And if we do that, because I could have done it here, these all actually need the button thing. I'm actually going to go back to having this as an interface instead of an abstract class. Or you know what? I don't know why I'm doing this, because I could do instead, sorry, I'm going back and forth, but this stuff is live and this is just me working. So what we do is we actually do set this as a new UI button listener, okay? We go to that class, we get rid of abstract, because it doesn't need to be abstract anymore. All right, done. Whoops. Let's not play around too much with Windows 10. So this is done now, okay? So we've got these, and this will be the default implementation, right? So when we, over here, we can just quickly add an action. So we'll add a new action listener here. And we'll do something like system.out.println button pressed. Obviously, we also want to make sure that we only press it once, so that's a bit different as well. Don't know how we'll do that, but we'll figure something out, of course. We can get rid of that private class, and we're all good. So what has to happen is pretty simple. Don't worry about button listener too much. That doesn't actually have any functionality. Update is very important though. That will keep track of things. So we need to figure out where the mouse is on the screen and how it is in relation to us. So this is a bit difficult because of the fact that we've got so many different offsets to account for. So we need to have, luckily I believe the position plus the offset. What we do need to do absolutely is basically we're going to set this up a bit differently because I feel like that we need to kind of make it better. So in UI component, and this is going to be a bit of a long episode, I'm afraid. Not that you guys think that's a bad thing, obviously. But I'm going to make a public void get absolute position. And it's obviously not going to be void. So this will return position dot add offset. Okay. Java has a rectangle class, which could be used to speed things up a lot, because the rectangle class has something like inside or contains Okay, and we can figure out basically whether the current rectangle contains a different point. So if you look at the implementation for that, it's basically this. So we can kind of steal that, or this is actually slightly optimized, so it looks a bit weird. But that's one thing that we can do, okay, because that's basically what we're doing. I just think that might be better than constructing a rectangle, although that doesn't seem too difficult, so we might actually just do that instead. Yeah, let's just do that instead. So rectangle rect equals, so this is going to be the button bounds basically. We could even store it like that since it's something that has a size. We should probably have our own rectangle class, to be honest, but whatever. Rectangle 2D, what is it? Is it actually rectangle? Yeah, it's just rectangle. Equals new rectangle. We'll just say, so get absolute position dot x will, yeah, okay, whatever, it's Java. Hopefully it'll optimize this. Width and height, size.x, size.y. Okay, we've got a rectangle, and then all we have to do is say if mouse dot, if rect dot contains new point. Yeah, we'll make our own maths later, I think, because this doesn't work with our vector system, and it should. So instead of doing .x, .y, we don't need to do that. So we'll see. It'll contain a new point, which is mouse.getX and mouse.getY. Okay, cool. So if that is the case, we're basically inside. So let's just, I don't even know if this will work. So let's just check this out. Why is that button not rendering? Okay, also it doesn't work. But why is that button not rendering? That's a bit weird. I didn't change anything, did I? No, I don't think so. Is that color? Yeah. Let's set the color to pink real quick. That's weird. Not rendering anymore. That's very weird. Did I do something bad? What did I do? So I added that. Interesting. Interesting. So set color just calls, yeah, okay. And we added that, so that doesn't matter. I don't think. We didn't do anything, did we? No. No, it's all good. So what's up, man? Let's double check what's going on. So position.x, what's the position at? 10 and 260 plus the offset, which is just 0. Why is the offset 0? That sounds a bit wrong. Was the offset always? No, the offset, hang on. Position's 216. Yeah, that's wrong, man. Why is the offset 0? That would mean it would be getting rendered here, but it's just not getting rendered anywhere. So that's even weirder. Label seems fine. Very weird. What else are we rendering? We're rendering a progress bar, right? Let's check this out. What's the offset for this puppy? 0 as well. Maybe I'm wrong. Why is the offset 0 though? That can't be right. Why is the offset 0? Maybe it's just for the first frame or something. Yeah, it is for the first frame. That's weird. We probably shouldn't make it do that. Probably should make it render with an incorrect offset. But that's another one for the bug collection. Let's just see what the offset actually is then. I'll skip a few frames. 2 frames. Offset is 660 and 0. So 660 plus... Whoa. What's up with that X, man? Does the position change? What? Hang on a minute. What? Oh. You guys probably saw this and were like, lol. Okay, there we go. So, now that we're recovering from that, we can set the color. Excuse me. Back to this. Okay, cool. So if we're inside, as you can see, it will say that we're inside. See? Nice and brilliant. So to reflect this a bit better, what we could do is, now that we have that, we could do something like color, set color to, oh, I don't know, man, like, how about just a lighter version of that? We'll kind of keep it a bit realistic. So maybe like CD. That just looks like debug memory to me. All right, so you can see that it goes bright, and for the purposes of this, we'll just say else. I should have left those braces because we aren't gonna need them later. We'll just say like else set color back to what it was before, which is that. What did I just do, man? That's weird. Got into the mouse class somehow. So look at that. Buttons, man. Pretty cool. So, the idea with that, though, is, as you can see, we're doing some pretty cool stuff by just simply setting up the colors a bit differently. By simply detecting whether or not we're in the bounds, right? So, what if we did something like this? Right? What if, this is the code that we've got, what if we went into our UI button listener and then said something like, well, you know what, let's on entered, set the color to that, right? And then on exited, set the color to that. What if we did something like that and then simply called button listener dot entered this and button listener dot exited this. What if we did something like that? Oh, look, it works. Fantastic. Brilliant. So this is actually the plan. Okay, we want to do something like this. Now, what we do want to actually do is something a little bit different, because right now it's going to be calling that both the entered and the exited event 1,000,000 times per second. Okay? Sorry, what I mean by that is, it's going to keep calling it, right? Whereas it's only really supposed to call it once, because we're not asking whether it's inside or outside. We're asking whether it's in, like, whether it has entered or exited. That happens once. Yeah? So to reset this, we need to control it a bit better, right? What we need is a boolean. So this boolean will be something like inside. So we're just going to assume the mouse is not inside the button. If the rectangle contains the point, then we'll set inside to true, clearly. Yeah? Before we do that, we need to say if inside is false, we need to run that code. And then we set it to true, so next time it'll be false. And then over here, we do the exact same thing. We do if it is inside, then we call exited. If it's currently inside and the rectangle doesn't contain anymore, we exit, and then we set inside equal to false. Okay, this way it will only call it once. Okay, it still works as it does before. The only problem is if we Alt-Tab, for example, and go back. Okay, that actually worked. Well, I'm a magician, what can I say? But just to show you guys the actual difference, because obviously there was one. I mean, I'm sure you guys actually know, but if we just did entered and exited, just like that, so, and then we went here and we undid all of our hard work here, and we set it back to what it was before, which was this. Obviously, you can see that we're permanently exited, entered, and it's calling that code all the time. We don't want to do that. Instead, we go to the new system, which is this, and if we do that, you can see that it only calls it once, when we enter and when we exit. See? Still works the same way. It's just much, much better. Okay, cool. So that is going to pretty much wrap up this episode because we're already at 24 minutes. But next time we're going to talk about, we've only got the press and release stuff and really the action, so clicking on the buttons, right? So we'll cover that stuff next time. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like button and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.